Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach, 1986. This is Bowser's very first on-screen appearance ever. Here he is called King Koopa, and his design is much more cartoonish and fairy tale-like than later versions. Rounder facial features, exaggerated horns, and a less intimidating overall presence. He looks more like a mischievous dragon than a brutal warlord. Bowser is fully voiced in this film with a very expressive and theatrical personality. His voice is provided by Toru Furuya, a famous Japanese voice actor. Unlike the deep growling Bowser most people know today, this version talks a lot, jokes, and behaves like a classic animated villain. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show, 1989. In this series, Bowser is known as King Koopa and appears as a much louder, more aggressive villain than in the 1986 anime. His design is bulkier and more reptilian, with sharper teeth and a more intimidating presence. He is voiced by Harvey Atkin, whose deep, sarcastic delivery helped define Bowser's personality for Western audiences. Compared to his first appearance, Bowser here feels more like a true tyrant and ruler, not just a cartoon trickster. King Koopa's Kool Cartoons, 1989. This is a very unusual version of Bowser, portrayed as King Koopa in live action, wearing a full costume rather than being animated. He acts as a children's show host, speaking directly to the audience, joking and interacting in a playful, non-threatening way. It's the only time Bowser appears primarily as a TV host personality rather than a true antagonist. The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, 1990. In this series, Bowser looks closer to his game design, with a spikier shell and a more muscular build.
Show him the guy we're out to get, life-size portrait!
His personality is more strategic and authoritarian, acting like a warlord commanding his Koopalings rather than a lone villain. Compared to the 1989 shows, Bowser feels less goofy and more like a genuine threat, while still keeping a cartoon tone. Super Mario World, 1991. Bowser appears more animalistic and physically imposing, with a heavier body and sharper features. He continues to be voiced by Harvey Atkin, but his tone is calmer and more calculating. He constantly tries to reclaim Dinosaur Land and defeat Mario, often retreating after his plans fail rather than being outright defeated. Compared to the Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, Bowser feels less comedic and more persistent, acting like a long-term menace instead of a chaotic villain. Super Mario Bros. 1993. In this film, Bowser is reimagined as King Koopa, a fully human character rather than a turtle-like creature. He is played by Dennis Hopper, giving him a cold, authoritarian presence instead of a cartoonish one. Koopa is a dictator ruling Dino Hatton, obsessed with controlling both dimensions, and he is ultimately de-evolved into primordial slime at the end. Compared to the animated versions, this is the darkest and most radically different interpretation of Bowser ever put on screen. Robot Chicken, 2005. In Robot Chicken, Bowser appears as a parody version of himself, exaggerated and intentionally ridiculous.
Any chance you want to kidnap me and put me up in your castle?
No way, Princess.
His design is a stop-motion figure based on his classic game look, often distorted for comedy. He is usually portrayed as emotionally insecure, overdramatic, or frustrated, poking fun at his endless failures against Mario.
Daddy and Uncle Luigi are plumbers and we live here, instead of a big fancy house.
Wreck-It Ralph, 2012. In this film, Bowser appears in a brief cameo as a member of the Ganon villain support group. His design is very close to his modern game appearance, and he is portrayed as calm, mature, and surprisingly reflective. He doesn't fight or scheme here. His role is to show that even villains have feelings and frustrations. Nintendo and Robot Chicken Special Promo Animation, 2014. Bowser appears in Robot Chicken's signature parody style, but this time with official Nintendo approval. His design matches the exaggerated stop-motion look, and his personality is loud, self-aware, and openly mocking his own villain role. He's not part of a full narrative. He exists purely for meta-humor and crossover comedy. Death Battle Bowser vs. Ganon, 2016. In this episode, Bowser is portrayed as a pure powerhouse, focusing on his raw strength, durability, and fire-based abilities. His design closely follows his modern game appearance, and he barely speaks, acting more like a destructive force than a character-driven villain. He fights Ganon in a full crossover battle and is ultimately defeated after an extended, brutal fight. Compared to the 2014 parody promo, this Bowser is serious, violent, and intimidating, stripping away comedy almost entirely. Nintendo Official Web Animations 2018. In these short web animations, Bowser appears in brief, non-story-driven cameos, usually matching his modern game design. He doesn't have a full character arc here. His role is to visually represent the classic villain presence in promotional or celebratory content. He is typically silent or minimally expressive, relying on body language rather than dialogue. Nintendo Official Web Animations 2019. Here Bowser appears again in short promotional animations, visually unchanged from the 2018 version. He keeps his modern, game-accurate design, usually showing up briefly as a recognizable antagonist rather than a story character. Robot Chicken 2022. In these later Robot Chicken sketches, Bowser returns in the same exaggerated stop-motion style, but with humor that leans more into self-parody and nostalgia. He is often portrayed as an aging, burned-out villain, aware of how long he has been losing to Mario. He usually ends up mocked, ignored, or emotionally defeated rather than physically beaten. The Super Mario Bros. Movie 2023. In this film, Bowser appears as a fully realized main antagonist, closely matching his modern game design with a massive, spiked shell and glowing fire breath. He is voiced by Jack Black, who gives Bowser a loud, theatrical, and surprisingly emotional personality, mixing menace with comedy. Bowser is obsessed with marrying Princess Peach and conquering the Mushroom Kingdom, but he is ultimately defeated and imprisoned in miniature form. Compared to all previous screen versions, this is the most definitive, game-accurate, and character-driven portrayal of Bowser ever made. The Super Mario Bros. Movie 2026. Bowser is confirmed to return following the events of the 2023 film, with Jack Black expected to reprise the role.
Trim the bonsai bush.